Hey, Thrand here, and I'm here with a video requested by Demo Man Chaos. A lot of you may not know who he is. His channel's not huge, but he comes up with great ideas and he has good concepts. So you might want to go by there and check out Demo Man Chaos on YouTube.
Demon Nachos.
Demon Nachos, yeah. I originally thought his name was Demon Nachos. He even has stated before that if he'd used that as his name, he'd probably have a lot more subscribers. Maybe go by there and make sure he knows that's not true. But what this test is I threw a sword in my throwing challenge with Joerg Sprave over at the Slingshot channel. He has a sword launcher and it launches Viking Age swords. And the idea was Vikings or Vikinger or Scandinavian peoples and sagas have thrown swords, and it also shows up in later historical manuals. So what I did is replicated it the best I could in the most efficient way possible, and I got penetration through mail armor. But the most impressive thing to most folks who are used to using skjolder with umbo on them was a 16 gauge umbo of mild steel, which is closer to iron. It's a hair harder supposedly, but I question that because actual hardened wrought iron, when it's hammered out and done hot, gets carbon in it. So it becomes more steel-like because it's forged. So it might be just equal to this. I mean, or maybe a little worse in areas, depending on how thick it is, and it probably wouldn't be an even gauge like this would be in the dishing it out. But we got a penetration into the actual umbo of the center boss. And no, that was another question. If I had my hand behind it, depending on how I was holding the skjolder or the shield, would it have hit my finger? If I was holding it directly straight out in front of me, you know, like you would for accepting arrows, probably not. If I had it slightly turned and it hit somehow like that, yeah, it probably would have stuck in my finger and it would definitely put the fear of gods in it. It's quite significant, the penetration, but the question is, from Demo Man Chaos, could it pierce it without being thrown? Could I get enough force behind the sword in a proper thrust or a thrusting motion to drive it through the actual center boss? And I don't want to go into this test with any predetermined ideas because that would maybe influence the test. I sharpened it really well. I'm hoping and I'm confident that I can do it, but from my testing in the past, thrown weapons have the most acceleration, and to pierce plate armor like this, or to actually pierce you know, into anything like that, like mail or anything. What mail gives, so it does have some differences due to padding under it and the person giving the body getting up energy, but has the greatest chance of penetrating armor or protective coverings. Test I shall try. I'm going to try thrusting as if I was holding it kind of in a pre-script, like you might see with this type of round pommel and crossguard, like Roland Varzeka would probably use the sword in a lot of instances if he was fighting with a center boss. And yes, later century, type 10 blades were used with center bosses. Type 10s are around way past the Viking Age. And I'm just curious, I can't really redo the test and start off really hardcore and then go light, so I'm going light first. This would probably be a lighter thrust just using the body and thrusting. And hopefully I don't pull a Robin Hood like I always do and hit the same spot. But I'm going to give it what I can give it from here in a fencing style position, possibly with a buckler. Oh! We got a small dimple into the boss. Not much. I'll probably have to resharpen it. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to be standing in a position like if I had the shield in front of me at an angle and the sword is in behind, hidden behind the shield. I'll be doing a reverse thrusting style technique. So what's happening is my entire body is moving with it and my back foot is turning like a boxer would do. So what ends up happening is I am putting my body into this. It's like a straight right or something from boxing. Secret is I'd be behind my shield and using it as cover and not exposing myself by leaving this shield in that position, but maybe angling it just a little bit to get the thrust in. And hiding it from my opponent at the same time. It would be hidden behind the shield before it comes forward. So that gives me the ability to throw this blade, and I'm going to throw it underhanded, pretty much like the underarm slide with a spear, or an underarm throwing thrust, and try to see if I can penetrate it that way. but we certainly did way better. We actually have a hole through the shield, and I may have to resharpen the point from that test, but nowhere near as devastating as this one. It's a little bitty hole. You can see through the shield, but if that happened to my shield in combat, I don't think I'd be worried greatly. Now I'm going to try a lunging technique, meaning I'm going to be back in step, throwing my body into it and having more time with the step and drawing the arm back to accelerate the blade. I'm assuming if I can hit straight on, which just makes it much more difficult. This is great in a fencing style situation to reach out and get something. But is it the proper method to pierce metal? This does have the potential, if I can hit straight on and not hit off slightly, causing the sword to skip or bend, to pierce it, because it does have more acceleration, range of motion, and all that good stuff. Plus I can put my body behind it at the end, which does give a little, aid a little bit in the thrust, but if it doesn't make it through from the acceleration and initial impact, it's not going to be pushed through that target. I'm not able to push deeper into it if it stops, pretty much. Push the guy back, maybe. Let's go ahead, and I will try to do a proper thrust by... Ah! And yes, I screamed when I hit it. This hurts. My hand hurts. I'm an older guy. It hurts my body when I try to put everything into something. So yes, I scream knowing it's going to hurt, and it psychs me out so I get a good thrust. So a lot of people will complain about that. But I did hit straight on, and the sword bent. But where I hit it, I didn't get any better penetration than I did with the front thrust. The reverse, like I said, did the best. But I noticed a lot of bending on the sword, and as Roland Rosecco would say, it's because probably my alignment wasn't straight on, even though I'm reaching out, which it seems like it is. But reaching out like that, it gives it more chance to have a give to it. Even my arm has a give to it, to eat up energy. Or in this position, and you're more in a thrust like this, I can kind of keep it in, and yeah, you saw the difference. We've got a better indentation, I would call it, or hole where you can see through it. But these didn't even make holes where you could see through it, if you check them out. Upon shooting this video, I also really realized that Joerg has gotten his episode out. That is amazing. I mean, what I just saw, I cannot believe. I thought that with the extra rubber and it's shooting 37 meters instead of my, 13.5 meters, I was thinking that he was going to go clean through the target and out the back side by, like, you know, the full length of the blade or something, possibly even, you know, beef up the armor and go through even more, maybe plate, mail, you know, a whole person into the thing. So I'm impressed that, you know, what I did was comparable with the sharper sword. You know, I guess it's a sharper and higher quality sword, and with a different technique done by hand, was able to match it. I was able to at least wound and kill the man in mail. Mine didn't stay stuck in the shield. It stuck in the shield and busted the back, but didn't stay impaled as well as his. So yes, his has a lot more power, and I'm sure would be a lot more threatening under your armor, through bone and all, probably like just chopping the bone. So I think he's being quite modest, saying that it was a draw. I mean, I appreciate that, and thank you very much, Shield Brother Joerg. But we're not going to end the video just yet. This was a video I'm working on because of Demo Man Chaos. So what we're going to do here is I want to thank Joerg once again for his wonderful video. It was awesome, spectacular. I love experimentation and seeing things compared, and I'm amazed that it was so close, that he could call it a draw. I still think he won, but anyway. What I should do here is I'm going to go ahead and try thrusting, because if you look at the Gladiatoria, not all the pictures look like they're throwing it like in this special stylized technique that I was using. They look like they're just holding the sword like it's a dagger. Matter of fact, I believe Matt Easton's done a video about swords being held in reverse, but for thrusting, not for cutting, like most people see. But maybe that's like the overarm throwing slide. I can throw the sword from this position more powerfully and hopefully maybe impale the center boss deeper, because that was the whole point of this video, is trying to see how far we get in. The best we got was the reverse thrust underhand. So let's go ahead and see what I can do. All right. This is not the exact same as the throw. Lacking some power, but that is the most substantial piercing that we've gotten using it without throwing it. And I still maintain that throwing is more powerful because you're using the full body and you're putting the mechanic behind it to accelerate the blade into the target. But if you look here, you see that I got something very similar. So in some of those gladiatoria depictions, maybe these weren't all being thrown, but the sword was being used like a dagger because they could pierce thinner pieces of the armor, because it wasn't a uniform, you know, the armor was not made in a uniform manner. You had different gauges. So if you had a lighter gauge than this, it could go down to 18 at places. This is about 16, and some places 14. If you hit just the right spot or got lucky, you might wound him bad enough to make him bleed. Possibly. That's not that impressive, but I see with a tapered sword in the right manner and made with a rigid spine, possibly. Might get a little bit deeper. That is impressive. Very, very impressive. But anyway, I hope you all enjoyed my little test here to see what would happen if we actually thrust, thanks to Demo Man Kaus. And thank you again, Joerg Sprave, for your wonderful and awesome launcher reply. I think it outdid me, but if you want to call it a draw, let's go with it. As always, Farvel.